everyone. My name is Marie Sorelli. I am from the Harrell Health Sciences Library Research and Learning Commons. And today I'm going to talk to you about how we tailored Summon specifically for our medical library users. Okay, so I wanted to start off by recognizing the whole team that worked on this. So Xiaoyu Sun and myself put together today's presentation, but really this was a whole team effort. So I want to make it clear that I'm really the ideas person here. I have lots of ideas, but not always the skills to make what I want happen. So I was very lucky to be able to work with a great group of people to make the changes that we wanted to do. And they're actually all on the call today in case any questions come up that maybe me or Xiaoyu can't answer. And just wanted to make sure they were represented for everything that they did. So to begin with, again, my name is Marie Sorelli. I am the Collection Access and Support Services Librarian for the Harrell Health Sciences Library, which is part of the Penn State College of Medicine. So my main job is making sure that all of our electronic resources are working at the College of Medicine. We have Xiaoyu Sun, who is the IT person for the library. Also, Ruth Kitchen-Tillman, she is our cataloging systems and link data strategist at university libraries. So if you're familiar with Penn State, that's up at our mothership in State College. We have Heidi Thompson, who is with Ex Libris, and she is our customer success manager. And we have Lori Sisney, who is our collection development and digital resources management librarian. And I should also add that she is my supervisor, so she's the one who approves of all my ideas that I have. So thank you, Lori. Okay, so a little bit about who we are. The Harrell Health Sciences Library is the library for the Penn State College of Medicine, as well as the Hershey Medical Center. So our user population is health sciences students, so that includes medical, PA, nursing, graduate. We also, of course, have all of our health professionals, researchers, administrators, educators, etc. So organizationally, we are connected to Penn State University libraries. So most of our resources are shared across all of Penn State University. We do have some that are unique to our users, but we use, if you're not familiar with it, what's called the Ex Libris Consortium Edition. So in this version of Ex Libris, there's a parent profile and a child profile. And we are obviously the child profile to Penn State University libraries, and we can share resources from the parent profile to ours. But the really great thing for us, at least, about using the consortium edition is that it means we can have our own instance of discovery. And so because of that, we've been able to share all those resources from Penn State University, but also tailor our discovery experience specific to our user population. So I want to talk to you about why we thought it was important to tailor our discovery to our specific user population. So what I want to walk you through today is kind of a series of events that led us to doing what we did with Summon. Okay. So to begin with, here's an image of the main search bar on our website, and I'm sure this looks very similar to many other libraries. Pretty typical in libraries to have something like this. And you'll see that actually the third tab is our discovery search. It's called Books, Articles, and More, or at Penn State we call it Lion Search. And it is not our default search on our website. And to be honest, we never really promoted discovery for our user population. And you may or may not at your library, but our reasoning for a long time has been that a health sciences professional or students at this level in their education should not be relying on discovery to search for information. Instead, they should be familiar with using the professional tools in their field. So that includes things like PubMed, UpToDate, Web of Science, etc. So that's why we don't have it as the default search. And even in past iterations of our library website, it was never our default search. And we thought because of that and because of the fact that we don't promote it, that no one was using it. Well, when we dug into the statistics, that we found out we were very wrong. A lot of people were still using Discovery. So also, in addition to finding out that our user population was heavily using the Discovery, we also know some things anecdotally about our specific user population. So here at the Herald Library, we all share library reference duty, which I think is great because I get to look at the technical side as well as the public-facing side, which really helps inform a lot of what I do. So it's kind of a unique look. But we know that people have a hard time finding a known item. So, for example, if they know the title of a journal article or they're looking for a specific book, they come to our library website and they don't know what to do. So as librarians, we know, okay, well, if you have a journal article, you go to the eJournal list, you go to the volume, then you go to the issue, then you go to the page number. And that's how we think about going to these things, but our patrons really don't. So they end up going to stuff like Google Scholar or PubMed or other places to find a known journal article. We also know that it's really difficult to browse our online catalog. So if you're just looking for something, just a textbook on anatomy, and you just want to browse everything at Penn State, the catalog search doesn't always do the best search. However, we do know that Discovery is great for both of these things. So we know that through user testing that I've done, that putting a known book title or a known journal article, the search in Summon is usually pretty successful at finding it, and it's very easy for users. We also know it's great for browsing books and doing things like that. So something like Summon really helps reduce the learning curve that we have for using a library website. Okay, so the final event, I should say, in our series of events is we were looking at other Discovery services that were aimed specifically at health sciences users. And I'm sure many, if not all of you on this call, are familiar with EBSCO Discovery Service Health, also known as edshealth. And edshealth has some really cool features. In particular, you'll see on the screenshot here on the bottom right, they have these cool little search widgets that will carry your search over to some of the point-of-care tools. They have a little mesh search feature in the upper right there. And so we decided that we were going to actually trial edshealth, and we uploaded all of Penn State University Libraries holding. It was a huge trial, and I put together a large set of use cases and tested them against Summon, which we currently had. And what I found was very surprising. I found that Summon far outperformed edshealth. And it was surprising because edshealth was marketed as something that was for health sciences libraries. So I had this assumption that edshealth is going to be better at finding health sciences resources. And we found out that was absolutely not true. And so we dug a little deeper, and we were informed from some of our library colleagues that edshealth is just EDS with some fun little widgets. So that was very surprising. On a side note, before I move to the next slide, we also looked at Ovid Discovery as well, but that is much more aimed at a small medical library, but I just wanted to throw it in there. So after the EDS trial, we're back at square one. We still currently have Summon, and myself and Lori, we're thinking about what is it that we want for our patrons. And number one is we want to reduce the learning curve of using our website for doing really simple tasks, like finding a known item or browsing for textbooks. And we know Discovery is great for that. But we also want to encourage our patrons to use the professional tools of their field to search for health information. And we know Discovery is not always great for that. So how do we bring these two ideas together? And Lori and myself were thinking that wouldn't it be great if Summon had those little widget boxes on the side, right? Also, wouldn't it be great if we could not be stuck to, EDS's predefined databases there? What if we could do something that's not even a point of care tool? What if we could put a PubMed search in there? So this way that if someone goes to Discovery for more than just finding a known item or browsing for books, maybe they're trying to do a literature search, we're kind of nudging them towards these other resources, these professional tools. So this would be kind of what we're thinking, the best of both worlds. So at this point, this is when we decided to contact Ruth Tillman up at University Libraries and see if these are kind of ideas that we could just make happen in Summon. So that's when Ruth scheduled us with our lovely customer success manager, Heidi. And we didn't even know that we had such a thing, a customer success manager, but we found out it is a wonderful, wonderful thing to have. And so we had a meeting and we talked about what our vision was for Summon. And to our pleasant surprise, Heidi told us that we could make this happen. So this is great news. So we realized that not only can we stay with Summon, which is great because it's what the university was using, which makes it a lot easier to share resources, but also we really love the support at Ex Libris. I've been happy with the support since I started working for Penn State about 5 years ago, and we were thrilled to be able to go down this route. Okay, so now I've kind of taken you on this journey, right, to where we are. So let's actually talk about the changes we made. So this top part here above that, you'll see a middle like blank line, are some of the really easy changes we made. So just stuff we turned on in the back end that we thought for our library, at least, there's more than just this you can turn on in the back end, but for our patrons, we thought these were things to, again, kind of nudge our patrons in the right direction. A lot of these changes, I would like to shout out to Ruth, who walked me through the back end of the Summon interface because she's much more familiar than I and helps me do a lot of this. So let me take you to my browser. Type in, I'm just going to type in something like nursing. Oops, got caps on. Whoa, well, look, I didn't do, oh, I have the search pulled up. Okay, sorry. Okay, so one thing we decided to add is the database recommendations, which you can see at the top here, which again we thought was a really easy way to kind of nudge our patrons towards using some of those more professional tools that we would like them to use. And we also added, let's see here, I'm going to limit to books. And if you scroll down here, we also added things like the related items features. You can see here on some of our books, the reviews and chapters is linked, which we found was really helpful. Another thing we also added was the search within a journal feature. So I'm just going to type in New England Journal of Medicine, something most of you probably have. Okay, and you can see, oops, I got to take it off the book filter. You can see at the top here, we have the option to search within the New England Journal of Medicine, which we thought was very helpful. Another thing we added was a contact librarian URL. So if I just type in gibberish, whatever, you'll see you get prompted to contact your librarian for help. So that was very helpful. And also going back here, one other last thing we added was our an author facet in the back end. And there's all different types of facets you can add in the back end. So just customizing it however works best for your library population. So again, that's just some of the little small things in the back end that you can just turn on or off, and there's many more. So I encourage you to just kind of walk through the back end with your customer success manager or another librarian who's very familiar with Summon to decide what makes the most sense for your patrons. Oh, I forgot one. Let me go back here. The alt metrics. We also turned on alt metrics for our user population. And I should also point out we shortened the permalinks while I'm here. That's another little thing you can turn on. And I think I got everything in that part. Okay. So that is, like I said, the little things you can turn on to the back end, but I really want to get more into like the meat and potatoes here of how we really customize this for our user populations. So one of the things we did, let me go back to nursing, my nursing search here. Actually, let me do nutrition, bring up something I do, is we indexed our LibGuides. So our LibGuides, I'm sure many of the librarians on this call, you spend a lot of time working on your LibGuides to try and point users to the resources they should be using specific to their field. So this is something we wanted to make sure was definitely indexed. So you'll see here I searched nutrition. My nutrition LibGuide comes up. You can see the different pages. And with that, on the side, you're also going to get your suggested librarian as well, which is great. So they can send me an email directly or see my phone number right there. And we call them recommended resources, not LibGuides. So you'll see our recommended resources also show up in the sidebar as well. Okay, so another thing that we also created was what are called best bets. So if you're not familiar with best bets, what you can do in the back end of Summon is add links to literally anything and add different tags so that they'll show up in the search. So for example, if I type in something like our InfoNet we have here, the hospital InfoNet, then a link to the InfoNet pops up right there. So what we decided was to go through our top 10 site searches, and we'll be going through more in the future, but we pulled those and we added those all in the back end of Summon so that users can look for it that way. Okay, so the other thing, and probably the biggest thing we did, if you remember talking about EDS and they had all those great search widgets, so up here to the right-hand side is where we added our search widgets. So these are custom panels that you can create in the back end of Summon. And we made one for PubMed, which you can see also includes the search box. And PubMed is our most heavily used resource, so we want to make sure that this is front and center. Because if someone is trying to do a literature search in Discovery, again, we want to make sure they see PubMed right in their face to kind of remind them, oh yeah, maybe I should be using PubMed. So let me just search something here for you. And let's see, again, we'll try nutrition. Okay, and you'll see that it auto-populates with your search. And then when you search, it's going to carry it right over into PubMed. Or it should. There we go. Okay. Okay, so all of our search widgets below there will actually carry over your search. So for example, again, we have down here, these are just point of care tools that we chose. And specifically, we wanted to do the point of care tools because they're not really indexed for Discovery. So if someone comes to Discovery and they're looking for information on a topic, say diabetes, and they want diagnosis and treatment information or information on a specific drug, they can easily continue their search right here. So we can try diabetes. Okay, and if I click in up to date, it's going to carry the search for diabetes over to up to date. And it actually carries the search over for every single one of our search widgets except for micromedics. And it's not that we couldn't figure out how to do it. We actually did get it to work. But if it came up 0 results, it was not intuitive for the user how to get back to the main search bar and do a new search. So for micromedics, we decided to just have that one go to the main search page of micromedics always by default. And you can see it just comes here. Just a little easy for the user. So I actually was in the process of contacting all the vendors for information on how to make these search widgets. And while I was in that process, Xiaoyu actually figured it all out on her own because she's amazing. So if you have someone like Xiaoyu or you know an IT person who's really good at coding, definitely get them involved in your project. It will make it so much easier. So the very last thing we did, and again, this was all Xiaoyu's part, was we customized it for mobile. So you may know, you may not, but when the screen gets smaller, these right-hand boxes here actually go away. So for that, let me shrink the screen here, and you can see when the screen collapses that it defaults to a banner on the top of your screen. So that way we still have everything front and center, and the size of the screen doesn't matter. It just looks a little different. Let me expand that again. That was also Xiaoyu who wrote the code for that as well. Okay, so that is our quick overview, but before I release it for questions, I just kind of want to close with one final story. So last year, I was actually doing usability testing of our library website with students, and one of the students that I had just finished a usability test, we were talking, and he politely told me about the library website being hard to use, and that he's not a librarian, and it's not his job, and that why don't we just make our discovery search better? And so hopefully, my hope is that is what we're doing, is that we are kind of melding together these ideas of reducing this learning curve of using a library website while also encouraging the more advanced searching behavior that's appropriate for our specific audience. So that is my hope at least. So that is all I have for you, unless my colleagues want to add something on, but I am happy to answer any questions at this point.
Okay, the first question that we got in was, how did you pre-populate your PubMed search widget with the summon search term?
Xiaoyu, can you answer that question for us?
Sure. So before I start telling you how to do that exactly, I want to show you, if you want to start working on the custom panels, I would say best start with Summon's knowledge base. They have very good articles and give you the instruction, and also have very good examples so you can follow. So this one tells you what you can do inside the custom panels, step-by-step instruction, and also some important notes you need to pay attention to. To answer that question, here's another article. On this page, it gives you like several examples you can follow. One is called external search by link. So here you can see the code. You can follow the code. Basically, you pull out the search term from the query string, and then you can add it to whatever. For our PubMed, it's a web form, so you can add it to the form. For other buttons we have, you can add it to as a part of the query string. So to be able to show that, I can show you the code. So basically inside the code, so this is the part, sorry, here. So this is the part, follow the example provided on Summon knowledge base. You pull up the query term. And then if you have the query term available, then you can add it to this part, add it to your web form. Right here, you can add the form. And also for other buttons, you just add the term into your query strings, like here. Oh, sorry, it's here, this part.
Next question is, where in the back end of Summon do you create the search widgets?
So that is in, and Joe, you correct me if I'm wrong, in the custom panels section. So if you go into the back end of Summon, it is under custom panels. And Joe, I believe we made technically 2 custom panels. I think PubMed is one custom panel, and then the search widgets for the point of care tools is another, correct?
At the very beginning, we made 2, but now we combine everything in one.
Oh, okay.
The reason we start, sorry, the reason we started with 2 is because actually there's like a limit in the custom panels. The maximum characters you can have is 2,048 characters. So, and then later on, when we added more and more the buttons, and the query string getting longer, it took too much space. So eventually, you know, we have to use the external JS file.
The next question is, you had a lot of widgets for certain databases. How did you decide which ones you wanted to create widgets for?
Okay. Yeah. So we specifically wanted to do point of care tools in those the boxes under the PubMed search, the buttons. So we took our most highly used point of care tools. I can actually go back to some and let's share those again. So share application. There we go. So up to date, I'm sure many of you are familiar with, is our most heavily used point of care tool. We also put Dynamed in there as well. That's our second most highly used one, because our physician assistants tend to use that tool quite a lot as well. And then, of course, we wanted to represent the nursing with the Nursing Reference Center. So that kind of covers like our three main point of care tools as far as usage. And we did put IBM Micromedics in there, up-to-date links to LexiComp. So that's kind of incorporated. So, or actually, let me think about that. I think LexiComp, we also don't have off-campus access. Sorry, I'm reminding myself of what I did. Thought I remembered, apparently I didn't. IBM Micromedics does have off-campus access, and so we linked it there. And natural medicines is not one of our most heavily used resources, but we would like to see it used a little more, and we think it's very important, and everyone who we know who finds out about it finds it very important. So we kind of mixed together in our decisions the most amount of usage, and then also kind of representing the spectrum of different types of resources. So stuff for physicians, nurses, drugs, and then more natural medicines types of things that kind of go along with drugs. So that's not the greatest way to explain a thought process, but that's what our thought process was.
Okay, and then the last question that I have is, how did you create the banner at the top for when the screen gets smaller?
Okay, so I'll let Joe, you answer that one.
Okay, if you look at code, you can see actually, actually we need to go back to the client center inside this custom panel sessions. So here, this is the one we created, only one panel here. So if you go there, look at the code, source code, here I want to show you, this is the line of code. Actually, we call it external JavaScript file. So the magic actually is done by the JavaScript. And if you look at the code, this session it shows you how to do the mobile display. So basically, we create a separate HTML to display a shorter list instead of the big buttons. And also, the reason it can display on the mobile display is by calling these classes. So basically, these classes means it will remain hidden on the medium and the large screens. And if you go check the knowledge base article I mentioned earlier, they also have an example about how to display on the mobile site. What they did is a little bit different. Basically, they just use a CSS code like a display now, but you can do either way.
If either of you want to make some concluding remarks, that would be fantastic at this point in time.
All right, so again, just, there's my email there. Feel free to write it down. email me. We're happy to share any of our knowledge or help you out in any way that we can. I think we're collegial like that, so do not hesitate to send me an email, and we're happy to help you out and, you know, make Summon a better experience for your users as well, because I know a lot of us feel our hands are really tied with the couple products out there that are specifically marketed to our health sciences libraries, but they're certainly not the only option. So just reach out to us and we're happy to help.